Nice. Hey, welcome back to Dix on Twitch. Back today with the Green-White Maverick. Kind of back to the basics. This is a list that was a little bit inspired by Julian's Green-White list, which was playing Aven Mind Sensor in the main deck, which is very cool. Mind Sensor, a pretty sweet card. There's obviously a lot of search in Legacy. Things like Crop Rotation, Infernal Tutor, Wishclaw Talisman, Stoneforge Mystic, Green Sun Zenith, Natural Order, Fetch lands, and I think Aven's in a pretty cool place. I think Stoneforge Mystic is making a pretty big comeback across the board, so there's a few Stoneforge lists out there that Aven's pretty good with, and especially in a deck that doesn't usually have flyers. You sometimes see Birds of Paradise, you sometimes see Scrib Ranger, so it is nice to have a flyer in the deck that can of course hold equipment as well, which is really nice. My only thought was Aven over Skyclave, which I do want to see a lot of it, so I am going to play main deck. I'm going to make that last minute change. The only reason that I like the Skyclaves in the main deck is that it's extra Swords to Plowshares. Jack Doomsday is a very good card as well, yeah, so Doomsday does search libraries as well. Why play Green-White? Why play Green-White when there's Green-White Black, or there's Punishing Maverick, or Bant? The one reason that I like Green-White is that it's pretty consistent. The mana base is really nice. You have access to 4 basics as a 2-and-2 split. You don't have to get, you don't get cut off for color, which is really cool. You can play a Stoneforge Mystic package. Some of the other ones, because of the splash, you don't play Stoneforge Mystic or don't have to. But I do like it in this deck because it does make sure that a lot of your cards that might not be threats in certain matchups can be, which is really nice. So making sure that, Scavenging Ooze against a deck like Elves is still online is pretty cool. I was going to play Tiles Tracker, but I'm just a huge fan of Sylvan Library. I think Library is one of the best mid-range cards you could be playing right now. And a lot of matches that I've been winning and losing have been on the back of Sylvan Library. So, pretty big advocate of that. The sideboard, just a Tormod's Crypt, 2 Exile Graveyard, Surgical for things like lands. Maybe against some Swords Plowshares decks, but I don't think so. Canonist for the fair matchups. I wanted something that was both good against Elves and also combo like Storm, so I didn't want to play Deafening Silence, and I like that Canonist can attack, so it's pressure and disruption all in one, which is nice. Gideon, I think, is just a great magic card all around. Creates creatures that you can equip with. It can get you out of some interesting situations with Plague Engineer, which is nice. Hexdrink is an interesting one. I think Hexdrink is really good right now. Hey Loma boy, yeah, no, we definitely have to stream. I just have to find some time for it, but I think I had next Sunday, hopefully, as the time when you might be available for a stream, because that'd be very cool. Hex has been really solid. It's been winning a lot of matches on its own, but I did want to move one card to the sideboard. It was kind of between Hex or Ramanap, but I think right now there are a few matchups where I do want the Ramanap. A lot of greedy mana bases, a lot of wastelands around, so I'm going to bring in Hex Drinker against the decks that I can kind of control it with, be a little bit patient with it. Oof, obviously a great Green Sun's target. I am playing it in the sideboard over Gaddock Teeg because we are playing the main deck Stoneforge Mystic package. And I have seen a fair bit of Terminus around, so I do want to have Gaddock Teeg as a bullet in the main deck. Skyclave I think is pretty cool in this deck. Gets to deal with anything other than True Name, but I think with Questing Beast and sort of Fire and Ice and Mum, we don't have too much of an issue against True Name. Chokes, just a card that I really enjoy playing. Pretty great against some of the blue mid-range decks. They usually have answers for it in things like Disenchant, Council's Judgment, maybe Teferi, Bounce and Counter, but Choke is usually pretty nice. And then just extra removal, Council's Judgment, Part to Exile, 2 good pieces of removal. Hey Narbo, welcome. So this should be pretty fun. We'll do a league, we'll see how it goes, might make some changes, might make it into another league. Guess it depends on how fast it goes, but yeah, this should be pretty fun. I always like going back to Green-White because it's a little bit more straightforward. How many QPs do I have? I believe I have 40, which is cool. I was going to play the showcase maybe tonight if I wake up. 53. I believe it's at 2 AM Queensland time, which is pretty tough. Hey, Always Home, welcome. King Smudge, 1 AM. Yeah, that's fair enough. Our times don't align too well, so very cool to see you in here. Let us go to a league. Play points. Nice. Nice. in game. Nice. I am a little bit hungover, so my voice is a little bit gone, but we should be okay. Nice. At 2:30 AM for you? Okay, interesting. Time in Melbourne is 12. Okay, so you're an hour ahead, so it's 1:30 for me. You're going to stream the next 2 challenges, Jack? Very cool. Nice. Up against Shake Lion. I feel like we played a few matches. This head is pretty sweet. We have 2 3-drops to ramp into off Green Suns, which is nice. And our mana's pretty good, so... Also have removal, which is nice. Oh, it's 2 AM for me? Okay. Without an accelerant, this hand would be pretty lame, but I do like it. Has a little bit of everything. Am I keen to stream the next 2? Well, next Saturday is my birthday, and then after that, probably. Stand still. Lotus Petal Misty. Lotus Petal Misty. Interesting. I think we're just going to go for Green Suns here still off the Forest. And then Avon next turn, hopefully. Hey, alright. Alright, Jack. Jeez, that's a lot of points. I should have put it higher. Okay. That's cool. Okay, well then I will do probably the 20th and the 27th. I might even do the 27th and the 3rd. But very cool. That's pretty hilarious. Too kind, Jack. Brainstorm. Okay. I'm going to assume my opponent is obviously on a combo deck and trying to go off this turn because they probably know that my deck has a lot of good 2-drops. But they're going to allow me to pass here. Which, I don't mind passing here with Avon up instead of playing the Knight. Because right now my only disruption really is the Avon Mind Sensor. If my opponent goes for basics. They also have Brainstorm, so they're going to fetch. We will cast Avon. Ooh. Hey Saito. Will they find? Oh, they don't find! Yes! So good. Pedal. Okay, this looks like Sneak and Show. Which is going to be tough. Avon is not split second, unfortunately. I think we just play the Knight, and then we can play around Daze, and then if they don't Daze it, we can attack with the Dried Arbor. I could also hold up Swords to Plowshares, but I think if they're going to put in something like a Grizzlebrand, then we're just going to be dead anyway. There's probably some thought to actually fetching there to play around something like Cunning Wish into like Pyroclasm or something. Nothing from my opponent. Interesting. Something like Cydia Traders into Sneak Attack with red mana would be pretty brutal here. Interesting. I think this is enough information for me to board into Sneak. But to be fair, a lot of my cards for the matchup anyway are pretty good against combo. Huh. Brainstorms, Petals, Volks. Definitely feels like Sneak. What do you guys think about boarding? It cannot be Storm or Doomsday. I assume that's because the amount of Volks that we saw, or the amount of basics. I think we saw 3 Volks in 1 island. This is a matchup where I don't mind trimming on the Stoneforge Mystic package. Swords to Plowshares. Ooze. Teeg's okay. It's probably better than something that we're not taking out. I don't mind keeping in the Sword as just a one-off equipment to actually pressure them pretty hard. Knights out, good cards in. I like the Canonists. I like the Oof and the Choke just to go after their mana. I'm not sure about Surgicals. The matchup is pretty poor. That it is a non-graveyard deck matchup that I'd like to bring in the Surgicals against, especially if they're on Intuition. I think we might put them in a maybe pile. Hexstring is pretty cool, especially as like an early piece of pressure. You like Judgment? Yeah, Judgment's pretty good as well, especially if they just put it in like a sneak attack off something in pass, or also go for the like a what's it called? Magus of the Moon or a Blood Moon or the Arcade Artisan. We are taking out Swords to Plowshares, so I do want something for that at least. I think this is pretty solid. I think we'll see how this goes up and make any changes in Game 3 if it's there. This is just a bit too slow. I really want a hand with some sort of acceleration. Hopefully a 2-drop in either Thalia or Aethersworn Canonist. So I am going to mull this. This is interesting. It's probably dropping the Teeg, because I can find it with the second Green Suns. Ramanap could also go. I'm going to assume my opponent goes for basics early on, but you never know what the hand is. I don't mind dropping the Ramanap. Teeg, of course, stops the Green Suns, so I have to Green Suns before I cast the Teeg anyway. Very fair. And I kind of also have to go for a Savannah off this Misty into Dryad Arbor, which turns on Blood Moon as a pretty good out for my opponent just to steal the game. I feel like this hand doesn't disrupt enough. It's just a little bit too fair. It's an okay hand, but I mean, like, what's my plan? Turn 1 Green Suns for Dryad Arbor, turn 2 I can Green Suns for 2, or I can... I don't think they play into the Infinite. I'm going to assume it's Firemind's Foresight win out of the board. Shed Summons is played in the other versions, but probably not in this version. Hey Gav. This is what looks to be blue-red Omnitel. I'm going to mull. I think there's a better 5. We have a pretty good chance of hitting a pretty good hand. And this is pretty close to it. Turn 1 Noble, turn 2 Knight. And then a second Knight if we really want it. There's some thought to keeping the Mum, because if we draw into like an Aethersworn Canonist or a Thalia, it's pretty good. And just keeping like this. It's a pretty decent 5. Turn 1 Noble, unless we draw into a Thalia, then turn 1 Mum into turn 2 Thalia. I'm pretty happy with this. Opponent kept 7. Yeah, even doing work. Even doing work, which is really nice. Chose not to shuffle. Okay, so they're not digging for lands. There's Thalia. Okay, so that's where we change up our strategy. So I think here it's much better to go turn 1 Mum into turn 2 Thalia than turn 1 Noble into Knight. Could also go Noble into Mum Thalia, but I think just getting Mum online ASAP is where I want to be. I guess Noble does also turn on turn 2 Thalia and Wasteland, which is kind of nice. I'm going to assume if they do have a sweeper, it's probably Pyroclasm. Could be something like Kozilek's Return, but... there is a chance that Thalia Wasteland Noble is just better than turn 1 Noble, or turn 1 Mum, turn 2 Thalia. I think turn 1 Noble into turn 2 Thalia Wasteland puts them a little bit too far behind, or at least a lot further behind than the other players. If I can hit kind of two of their mana, one through Thalia and one through Wasteland, I'll be very happy. And in a way, this does line up against protection pretty well. They're going to fetch now. Cool. Ponder. This is boring, but fine. I like it. I think a land off the top would just be really nice. Just to know if we Wasteland, then we can still play something else. Yeah, I think I do play around Daze here. I just play Thalia. They could Daze back the Volk just to save it, but that does a fair amount of damage. Wow, they let it resolve. That's pretty big. Next turn we get to play a Knight as a 4/4, which is pretty nice. Hey Bit, thanks for the follow. Apologies, thanks for the stay hydrated. It just looks like Goblin Crater Maker. Interesting. Ramanap's pretty solid here. I think Knight's just better. We get to go Knight into Ramanap, which is kind of cool. There's Tomb. Okay, so they could blow up the Thalia here and then show and tell something in. Oh, they're gonna Pyroclasm off this. Wow, that's pretty good. Yeah, nice. Very cool play. Canopy's nice. Kind of like just going for Mum here, and then next turn I can play Ramen Up and get back Wasteland. Just to get her online. This works out the same, and it makes the Mum online earlier, which is nice. Magus. Alright. Old boarded is pretty cool. I do like some of the new arts. Knight's a little bit different than what I imagined, but pretty cool to see. I'm pretty happy to... I guess it's kind of a free attack for my opponent here, so... I could block, but I don't really want to lose the Mum to anything. I did have a choice of using the Canopy. I was just F6ing though, so it's probably better to try to dig for a forest than leave the Canopy in play. Magus really nice here. I'm gonna block. My opponent can always attack because it's never gonna kill it, so I might as well save some life. Yeah, staying above 15 is good, but I think if they swing with an Emrakul and I lose everything, then it's gonna be GG. Second Plains is interesting. That turns on Council's Judgment as an out to the Magus. Didn't bring in Skyclaves, which is fine. No attack, okay. So they saw that I'll just block anyway. That's pretty funny. I guess I could draw Aven Mind Sensor. Night of Autumn. Okay, that's Not that great against Magus and Moon, but still pretty funny. Opponent just not drawing into anything here, which is nice. We could draw our forest soon. This is definitely a downside of taking out a card like Swords to Plowshares against this matchup, because usually they bring in some amount of creatures, but I think that usually we can deal with them pretty well. Alright. What's this gonna be? Teeg. I did talk about Green-White having a really nice mana base as well, so this is pretty funny. Alright. One top, one bottom. Sneak's pretty good. Alright, you got me. Do I want to change anything? I could see the Mind Sensors going, but especially if my opponent is going to go for the fetches most likely in their turn and play around it to some extent. I don't mind the Swords to Plowshares as just a way to know that I can get rid of something like Magus or Crater Maker if they don't play it correctly. So something like 2 swords doesn't seem too bad. I'd rather not be in a position where I have to path my opponent's creature and then I give them extra mana. I think swords is fine. This is pretty close to Julian's list. I don't think he played Sylvan Library. I think he was more a fan of Tireless Tracker. But I just like that Sylvan Library is a non-creature and is in the 2 slot instead of the 3 slot. But yeah, really close. I think just this is fine. This is pretty much just Thalia, which is pretty rough. I'd rather have a little bit more to the hand, because if Thalia gets countered here or gets removed, then this hand does really nothing. A Wasteland would have been kind of cool, but I'm gonna mulligan this. This is better. I'm gonna keep this, and I'm gonna bottom the Council's Judgment. We have turn 2 Choke if we want. We have turn 2 Knight. Jail is pretty cool. I do like it in the black versions where you have a bit more control over what your opponent can play. Because, you know, if you bring in it against a deck that can go wide and you just don't have the swords to stop it, then it can be pretty tough. But yeah, Jailer was definitely on my thoughts when I was looking at the sideboard. Pedal. Delta. Island. Ponder. 8 Plague. 8 Plague. Cradle. Pretty happy just to try to get choked down here. If I can slow my opponent in any way, I'm pretty happy. And if they have like something like Daze, I'd much rather have the choke Daze than the Knight of Autumn. Oh, no, the Reliquary, sorry. This also really puts pressure on their, ooh, yikes. Alright, I guess we have a Knight. Okay, that's not too bad. Wasteland's pretty good. Now we're in a tough spot, because I think I just want to Caracas the Grizzlebrand, but I don't want them paying a bunch They can pretty much pay 14. Untap and most likely just kill me. So is there another way? I think it might just be waste pass. I don't think there's any reason to do anything now just to get in one hit with the Dryad Arbor. Just down to 12. We are not playing Zenith, unfortunately. That would be a cool card. I'm probably happy just trading the Savannah here for a Caracas because it's my other white source. They're paying again. That makes me feel like they have like Stifle. That's why I wanted to float the white for the Swords to Plowshares. Okay, well, they're just gonna go up. Maybe try to find like triple petal. They could definitely have like Lotus Petal, Show and Tell, Omniscience. They did draw a fair amount of cards, so don't think we're out of the woodwork just yet, unfortunately. Wow, we are. Okay. Well, I didn't really expect that, but always nice to get up against Show and Tell, which I don't think is a great matchup for Maverick. We have some pieces that can trouble them, but I wouldn't say we have many locks. Yeah, interesting. Interesting that they... I feel like they obviously could have not drawn the last 7, but that makes me think they were like one piece off. Just being able to maybe Show and Tell an Omniscience, and then maybe cast Emrakul for an extra turn, or something like that. Yeah, it's cool that Knight's back. Isn't just a 3-3 most of the time, which is kind of cool. Whew. Up against Cyrax. Hey, Dare to be a Donut, welcome. The Center's sweet, I'll keep this. Pretty nice curve. Mana Confluence, LED, okay, this can be Dredge. Interesting. So I can only assume my opponent has a Dredger in hand. They can discard the Future Dream at end of turn. I could waste them, but then they have such a good turn next turn. It really puts us behind. Especially with the LEDs already in hand, or already in play. I don't mind Green Suns off a Savannah to get Dryad Arbor, and then next turn, worst case, if they have bridges, we can waste our own Dryad Arbor to trigger the bridges and also play a Mum. Yeah, I don't think we have the luxury of Green Suns for Ooze. I think it is just Green Suns for Dryad Arbor. That also turns on Ooze as a nice draw because we have green left over. They didn't discard. Maybe upkeep they'll discard. Okay, there's Gorgari Grave Troll. What do they hit? Nothing good. They didn't really hit anything. Huh. City Brass, 1 card left. Ooze? Green Suns. Okay. Well, now we have Green Suns available. We also have Thalia Hold Up Wasteland. Thalia is also nice because if we draw another Thalia, it also exiles bridges thanks to this one dying to legendary status. Oof is not main. You like Green Suns for Ooze? Green Suns for Ooze is also nice because it does just put it into play, which is kind of nice. So it plays around any sort of Cabal Therapy shenanigans. My opponent has the mana now for Thalia not to really matter either. Oof is in the sideboard. We're playing Teeg in the main deck for this version. I think, yeah, we just go Savannah Green Suns for Ooze. Yeah, sadly, I think my opponent's in a position where they can just not care about the LEDs for a little while. It's kind of a luxury to have the LEDs. I wouldn't say they're vital to their current plan. Yeah. Alright. Really need my opponent to whiff just one more time. Trigger the Icarid. They can get rid of a Stinkweed. Faithless Looting, Cabal Therapy, one bridge. Okay. Now they can looting. Yeah, HC, we have a Oof in the sideboard, so it's not even a consideration, unfortunately. There's an Ox. Now they have Cabal with Narcomoeba, which is nice. Guess we can do 6 here. That's more than fine. Hey Soul, welcome. Oh, Hogaak as well. That's a really nice hit. Ah, all 4 bridges? Rough. I guess we can just see more of their deck, which is nice. Ah, interesting. That's pretty funny. Looks pretty stock. Ox is cool. Tough. Surgical's good. Oof is good. I don't mind the extra path. Batterskull's pretty good. Question Beast. Mind Sensors can most likely come out. Ramanap's a little bit slow. Teeg stops Dread Return, but I don't think they'll be playing Dread Return anymore. Canonist is pretty solid as well. I don't mind Canonist. I do like the equipment package. Night of Autumn can most likely come out. Hey Mac, thanks for the follow. Hope you're well. Sylvan Library's a little bit slow. Scoop Ranger and Scavenging Ooze are obviously pretty good. I do like probably Sword can come out. Jide can at least turn off bridges, which is cool. And Batterskull's fine as just an early aggressive threat. I think this is pretty good. Yeah, this seems fine. I think with Surgicals, I don't want to be going after Dredges unless my opponent is really struggling. I probably want to keep them for either Narcomoebas or Bridges or Icarids. Swords to Plowshares is fine as like an extra piece of removal for Hogaak, the Ox, if I can take them off something early on. This is a no-lander, unfortunately, so I will mulligan this. This is actually pretty funny because Thalia is really good against the bridges, so I'm going to keep this and just bottom a Thalia. Yeah, I don't mind Surgical in a few other matchups where Leyline isn't that great either, which is kind of nice. But I did just want to try out other graveyard hate because I wasn't too sure what was good in the new meta. Hey Ben. Doing very well, thank you. A little bit hungover, but we're getting there. I hope you're well. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. There's LED. See if they try to go off here. Wasteland and Surgical versus Depth variants? Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, Gav, a little bit hungover here. So this is a pretty interesting spot because I have the play of either Canonist or Thalia. If I play Thalia, I do play around Cabal Therapy better, but I do turn off the Surgical Extraction because I can't pay for it. So I think here I just like, eat this one Canonist, hold up Surgical. Probably don't want to show the Wasteland yet. Yeah, Wasteland's also pretty strong, especially being on the play. But I do like getting something into play here. They're going to take the draw. Second land. Putrid, okay. Interesting. I think it's just Thalia here and hold up Wasteland to pay for Surgical. Definitely not attacking. Guess we could attack and then Surgical, but I think you're just like playing the Thalia. No Dredge. Interesting. Another LED. That's fine. That is an artifact spell, so they will get to cast something else this turn as well if they want, but looks like they just have nothing. Knight's pretty good. 2 cards. Ah, of course it's Threshold. I thought it was discard a card against +1/+1, so I could definitely attack last turn. Yeah, I'm pretty happy to attack here. It would be really nice to win this game without casting the Surgical. But I think here we just want to hold up Surgical and keep attacking. Hey, Harry the Lizard Wizard. I hope you're a fan of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizards, which is an Australian rock band. Thanks for the Prime sub. I hope you're well. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what do you play in Legacy? Yeah, I think the Green-White version needs a little bit more oomph to it, so I do like playing Stoneforge as a way to make sure that all my threats are threats. You would path Imp at his end of turn and then just hold up Surgical, yeah. Especially if we draw another land, that's really nice, because then we can play the Knight and also hold up Surgical in the same turn. Interesting to see what they kept, and if Canonist and Thalia are really having that much effect, or if they just did something weird here. You're from New York City. I actually quit Magic. I used to play Goblins in Legacy, but before that, Top Miracles. Very cool. Goblins and Top Miracles are two very cool formats, or very cool decks. Happy just to attack here for 4. I could potentially next turn swing for lethal, which is interesting because I can wasteland myself to make the Knight a 6/6, which then is lethal with 4 in pool. Yeah, I think just because of that, I'm happy to put my guard down for just a little bit now, just to see if we can just take 1 turn off their clock, or off their ability to actually get back into this game. No. Well, that was really nice, because we didn't show the Surgicals. We could be on a Wasteland plan, and we just didn't keep a hand with Wasteland, which is cool. I am pretty happy just to send this back. Whew. I think I'm pretty happy just to send this back. Probably not. Just a little bit too slow. I have to wait a whole turn for the Dried Arbor to be online to have a green source. This is much better. I'll probably keep this, and I'll probably just bottom the Questing Beast. And then it means we can do something like turn 1 Green Suns for Dried Arbor, turn 2 Canonist or Thalia with Wasteland, which is cool. So keep and bottom the Questing Beast. Does this get around Surgical? So they have Hexproof. They can't be the spells or target through abilities. I don't believe so. Yeah. Ah, it's for Crypt? Okay, cool. That's fine. Cabal's okay. Oh, they're Cabaling themselves. That's pretty cool. Alright. I kind of feel like just going after Golgari Grave Troll here, right? Yeah, I think taking them off their Dredger is just too good. So, hey, Kitty Cat, thanks for the Prime sub. Very welcomed. I hope you're well. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what you play in Legacy. I still like just turn 1 Zenith for Arbor here. Golgarian Wasteland's also pretty strong. That's very true. The only reason that I didn't want to Wasteland is that it does mean that if I don't draw a land next turn, that I'm a little bit behind, but hopefully this is still okay. What are the games you tend to Wasteland turn 1? Something like Ponder into Shuffle pass. Maybe like a Rishton Port pass. Tapland pass is pretty big. Oh, we knew about the breakthrough? Yeah, okay, that's fair. Could have definitely waited. Interesting, Ashen Rider. How do they get Ashen Rider back? They have no... Oh, Dread Return, there it is. Okay. That's done. Cool. Yeah, I didn't see the Dread Return. Casting an Alchemy Bow, okay. I guess they can Cabal me now, yeah, that's pretty good. But But they don't know anything, which is good. They named Thalia. Okay. That's fair. It's definitely going to be a 4 in the deck, so makes sense. I don't mind just building up my mana here. So we know about Breakthrough on 1 card. Yeah, so let's go for Wasteland. Cast Noble. Cast Canonist. LED's okay. What do they hit? One bridge. Interesting. That's it. We have bridge covered because we have dried up a wasteland, which is really nice. Thalia is pretty strong as well. So we get to attack for 3. Play Thalia and then just wasteland our opponent. No, I don't want to because I want to keep it up. Thalia and wasteland them. I guess my only consideration for not wastelanding here is that I can draw a card in my end step, or in their end step, which is cool if nothing happens. I can hold up wasteland for bridge, but because nothing's happening in the graveyard, I assume that it's trying to do something from hand, so they are going to have to cast spells, so probably wasteland is just correct here. But always interesting. They can only cast 1 spell a turn. We have them on a pretty much a 2-turn clock if they're going to use the Mana Confluences. Yeah, it is pretty much loot or bust. I guess they could have, like, worst case, Golgari Grave Troll in hand, upkeep, discard it to the ley line, dredge it. Yeah, I think it's worth just wastelanding and taking them off as much as possible. Hey, Wolf. Wasteland so they can't cast looting? Yeah, that's pretty big as well. Another LED. Windswept Heath, okay. Let's draw a card first. Knight, okay. I don't have to hold up path here, I can just attack for 5, which pretty much puts them at lethal if they want to use that Mana Confluence, because it does pay a life to tap for it. Tough spot for my opponent. Does Legacy Dredge play Cathartic Reunion? It does not. I'm going to assume in that place it plays Breakthrough, which is obviously a pretty busted card. I'm going to say it is... Yeah. Oh, no, let's break the line, my bad. Card. Breakthrough. Yeah, draw 4 cards and choose X cards in your hand and discard the rest, which is pretty much just 1 blue, draw 4, discard 4. Pretty cool. But there are some similarities between the deck and the modern version that does play Cathartic Reunion. Mickey plays Magic. This hand is really nice. I think it's pretty sweet. I'm going to keep this. The big question is, do I want to go for... I think it's just turn 1 bird, and then we'll see what they're playing, and either hold up Aven or play Mum and Stoneforge Mystic. Getting Mum online is nice, but I really like just being able to accelerate here, because if I draw into something like a Knight, and this is going to be a match where Knight's good, then I do want to be able to cast it as early as possible. Get something like maybe Eldrazi. Oh, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be Hogaak. So getting Mum online is pretty big here. I don't think Aven's really needed. Stoneforge is interesting because I can go and get Batterskull, which is okay in the matchup. Obviously not great against Cabal Therapy, but Mickey came to the right place. I think the play is just Mum and Stoneforge and get Batterskull. If we play the Noble Hierarch, I could potentially attack 2 turns away with the sword, which is cool. Hey, Rich. A huge thank you for the raid. I hope you're doing well. How'd you go in your current league? We'll get Batterskull, because then next turn if we draw a land, we can hold up Batterskull or Aven. I think this is fine. I think getting them all online ASAP is better than playing the Noble Hierarch for mana. Aven's pretty strong, but we do get hit pretty hard if they don't play a fetch. And even if they do, then there's the off chance that they do just find a land at the top 4. So I do like making sure we can build out our mana, our board before anything. Let us play a land and pass. Swords is a really nice pickup, so I think here we just pass with Batterskull and Swords up. Because Swords on the Stitcher Supplier is a pretty great way to make sure it doesn't do any sort of shenanigans. Jude is also really strong because you do have the ability to swords your kill your own creatures to remove bridges. This looks like just a pass. They're going to attack with both. This is going to be fine. This is actually pretty interesting. I could get rid of a bridge by blocking with Birds of Paradise. Which is pretty interesting. I don't mind getting rid of the bridge here. I think trading the bird for a bridge is fine, especially seeing where we're at. Get rid of Stoneforge Mystic. I like it just for now because it also puts in the sword. If we draw a land, we can play Hierarch and hold up sword. And then before damage, put in Skull. Another Stitcher. Vengevine. But nothing. Pretty happy just to Swords here. And then start attacking with the Batterskull. Thalia is pretty strong. I think just attacking with Stoneforge and Batterskull here is fine. Snitches get stitches. Yeah. I don't think Sword is going to do much here. Because of the colors. I'm going to assume just Thalia here is best. Makes him have to find a land for something like Cabal Therapy. Or the blue draw 2, pitch 2, careful study. I think Thalia is just really strong. This is an interesting one. I like the Skyclaves a lot. I like the Path a lot. I like the Crypt and the Surgicals. Oof is an interesting one because it does turn off the altar lines. But we'll see how we want to play this. So I like these 6. I don't like Teeg. Not a big fan of the sword. I like Ramanap. I like Knight of Autumn. Yeah, Oof. I think Oof just might be better than Teeg, and it's just a nice switch. Hey, Jake. You think Canonist is pretty strong? Yeah, I could definitely see that. A little bit like Elves, just keeping them to 1 a turn can be pretty good. You think it's better than Oof? Yeah, I guess it does also kind of work in the same way, which is nice. One card I'm not sure on is Thalia. I think the Avens are also just not where I want to be here. So like that is literally 60. Which is kind of nice. I don't think the Legendary rule is a reason to keep it in, just because it gets rid of bridges. But Oof is pretty nice. Maybe Oof is better than Knight of Autumn. Knight of Autumn's kind of nice because it can, you know, if they go wide, the life gain in the body can be relevant. Beast is pretty sweet because it can attack through a lot of their creatures that they probably want to be blocking with. This is 61. It could just be Library. As nice as Library is, they can be pretty aggressive with the go wide strategy. And a lot of the time I just don't have the time to set up a Library. -1 Knight of Autumn? Yeah, I could definitely see that as well. It's definitely not a matchup where I'm happy to see Knight, but I'm not effectively going for, or trying to find it ASAP. This is pretty solid. Yeah. I don't mind Library because there might be a good hand that I want to keep that doesn't have something like Surgical or Torment, so even the ability to filter my hand into the top 3 of the Library is pretty nice. Council's Judgment over Library? Yeah, maybe just more removal. Alright, we'll see how this plays out. Double Swords is really nice. We do have the ability to ramp as well if we want to. Pretty happy to keep this. Doesn't have Graveyard Hate at the moment, but pretty strong to have both swords. If my opponent Cabal therapies me as well, I want to take my time before I allow them to do it. I guess it doesn't really matter if they don't have cards in the graveyard, then they don't have to think about Surgical, but we'll see. We do have Ooze main deck, which is nice. Gravecrawler. Okay. Interesting. Oh, that's a pretty nice draw. They have 3 cards in hand, which isn't a whole lot. I do have the option here of taking out the Gravecrawler, but I don't think that's really where I want to be. It's interesting as well, though, because Surgical gives me so much information about the hand that it makes me think that if I want to hold up swords or play Mum this turn, or even go for Dried Arbor, just to build out my board. But Gravecrawler is just not a card that I'm really excited about. So turn 1 Dried Arbor turns on a lot of my lines the next turn. Allows me to play Mum, hold up Swords to Plowshares, maybe even get an attack in for 1. If we draw something like Skoos, it means that we can play Skoos and hold up a green mana for it. I think it's a loose play because Surgical's a huge resource for me, but I think just being able to see their hand and go from there is pretty good here, especially when they're on 3 cards. If I can make an optimal line based on what I know about them, I'm pretty happy to do that. Yes, they brought in Force of Vigor, they have a Stitch of Supply, which we have covered in the Swords to Plowshares, and a Marsh Flats, so nothing too big. We also see 2 Abrupt Decay, 2 Trophy. They brought in all 4 Force of Vigor, which is pretty nice. It does hit our own equipment, but that's about it. Torn 1 Script we don't really care about. But interesting to see. 1 Swamp. Nice. That is all done, right? Cool. And yeah, probably here, just happy to go for Green Suns for Dried Arbor. Yeah, I don't think that the just the fetch lands alone are a reason to keep in the arbors in the Avid Mind Sensors. I'd rather switch them for a different style of hate bear, like something like Canonist. Double supplier force. Okay. Just a land that can't get Dried Arbor, which is pretty big. Well, there's the Knight, which is pretty nice. I think here I like it playing a little bit safe and just swordsing the Stitches, playing the Mum. Attacking for 1. I don't want a 5 here. Or 6, sorry. Because I want to act like I have surgical. Yeah, opponent's in a tough spot. A land here is perfect as well, because we get to now play the Knight and also hold up Swords to Plowshares. Start going after their mana. I think my opponent was really relying on that Careful Study to hit something a little bit bigger. Hey, 90s MTG. Welcome. For those of you in chat who are unaware of 90s MTG, they play some pretty cool Eternal Magic. On 90s MTG on Twitch and also on YouTube. You should check them out. Very cool people. Canopy. I think I want to start with Canopy and go from there. Wasteland. Okay. I could just play the Knight here as a 4/3, which is pretty cool. I'd love to play some Paper Magic again soon. I also got it set up with my phone. I can use that as a webcam, which is very cool. So, better quality as well, which is nice. I think it's fine here just to play the Knight as a 4/3. And then next turn start attacking for a large chunk of damage. This also allows me to hold up swords this turn. Yeah, I have Plow versus Arbor. I also have Knight for Wasteland on Arbor, which is really nice. Thanks, Chris. Hope you're having a nice weekend. Hey, Team Bales, thanks for the follow. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what you play in Legacy. Let's sack this. Go and get Wasteland. Pretty close to lethal. I'm not going to Wasteland there. Another Knight is huge. I'm just going to play a patient here. I'm just going to attack with the Knight and then hold up this Knight. And then next turn we have lethal. Pretty much through anything, which is nice. Hey, Fornia, thanks for the follow. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what you play in Legacy. Another land for my opponent. I'm going to see how big we can get these Knights. Because I can sack this Plains. I can go and get a Wasteland. I can Wasteland myself. I can Wasteland myself. 10-10, boys. And then we still have a Wasteland for Dried Arbor if they have it. Hey, Ramar, welcome. I hope you're well. This feels like a Dried Arbor line here, which is fine because we have the extra Wasteland. Nice. Very cool. It's been interesting. I think the Green-White does lack the ability to deal with the go-wide strategy. So something like Punishing Fire or Plague Engineer. You really rely on your 4 main deck Swords to Plowshares. I know some players are playing Skyclave Apparition in the main board, which is cool as well. It's really nice in Green-White decks if you can also find room for Once Upon a Time, because now you can actually find removal through Once as well, which is cool. But felt pretty good so far. You're from the Milwaukee area, and I've played Alurin since Recruiter got a judge printing. Very cool. Alurin's a sweet deck. Unfortunately, it does take some time on MTGO, but in paper, I assume it's a little bit easier to combo off with. Yeah, Skyclave is nice in the main deck. I think there's a lot of matches that it hits, which is nice. There's not too many matchups where it's dead. Whew. You missed the Alurin transitional sideboard into natural order? That's very cool. I like that a lot. Up against Rohati. This hand doesn't excite me, but I probably wouldn't throw it back in a competitive environment, so I'm pretty happy just to keep this. Winds of Abandon is very cool. Yeah, I've played that before. Pretty nice as well to have some removal you can bring in against something like Eldrazi that might keep in Chalice for 1, which turns off Swords and Path. And then, yeah, Winds, if you can overload it, is really strong. I believe it's just a one-sided Wrath. Abolish? I've seen Abolish before. You're from Oklahoma, US. Goblins or Depths are my stuff. Very cool. So this could be a few things. The Plains is actually a fantastic draw here because I think my opponent's holding up Stifle. And I don't really want to play the Savannah here, so I'm just going to play the Plains and Paths. And then hopefully next turn my opponent taps out so we could fetch for a Forest and then play Thalia. But could be Infect. I'm going to assume it's possibly a Rug deck. And at least just a Plains means that my opponent could think we're on Maverick. On D&T, sorry, not Maverick. Hey, thanks, don't open the fridge. Enjoy your sleep. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks for coming in and hanging out. Library's really nice. Library's pretty good. We do have the Knight of Autumn, which is great. And now we get to go for a basic as well, so we can't be wastelanded, which is nice. Go for that Forest. Play that Thalia. No Daze is really interesting. This also means if my opponent taps out next turn and Thalia lives, we can just knight the library without having to worry about counter magic, which is huge. So we'll see if my opponent takes at least one card here. They take 2. Okay. It is going to be Infect. That makes me very worried. That makes me very worried. Because this hand isn't great against Infect. I don't think there's anything that I can really do here. I think the best case is just taking out this Sylvan Library. Because right now their life total doesn't really matter. Wasteland, yeah, is interesting. It only puts us back a little bit. I mean, Invigorate and Berserk is 3 mana with Thalia. Yeah, I guess Days on the Night isn't too bad as well because it does put them down a land, but I think I do want to shut off this library first if we do have a chance here. And at least if they want to force this, then you know that's one less force for something like a Swords to Plowshares, which is nice. But Infect's gonna be tough, especially with this pretty fair hand. This definitely feels like a Daze. Okay. Free attack. This is definitely a matchup where I miss Plague Engineer. Yeah, Maze of Ith is interesting. Obviously, Maze of Ith lost a lot of points when Arcanist was in the format, and to some extent, Uro as well. But I could definitely see it, and I think if I was going to play it, I would play it in green-white because you're not really splashing a color. So you can kind of splash for more utility lands like Maze of Ith or something like Blast Zone. But yeah, it's just trying to find a room for it, I guess, because you can't count Maze of Ith as a land. You have to count it as a spell. But I'm sure there is a way to get it in the list. Obviously, really nice with another Reliquary as well. Yikes. Yeah, I guess we didn't know about the days, so it's pretty hard to try to play around what we don't know about. And if it does hit, that's a line that I really like because it puts us into range of lethal. Or puts us less into range. Fetch. Possibly Brainstorm for Force. They're just going to force it. Okay. I am going to Wasteland here. I could try to play around like Crop, but I'm pretty happy just to Wasteland here so that upkeep they kind of like instant speed pump. Opponent really trying to dig here. So they get to see one new card through the library, because they need the top two through Brainstorm. Didn't think I'd make it to turn 5, so this is nice. Here we go. Invigorate. Hey, thanks, Starry. Yeah, the new budget piece from Jordan is really cool. So anyone who enjoys Maverick and wants to get into the deck, definitely check out the newest piece or the newest update to building Legacy Maverick on a budget, which you can find here. Path, Canonist is really good. Council's Judgment, Skyclave. Hexdrink is interesting. I don't mind Hex because it is just another blocker for something like a turn 1 Blighted Agent, which is kind of nice. Choke's interesting. I don't mind one choke. Avon's nice because it is still a blocker. It also stops things like Crop Rotation and, of course, fetches. Ooze can come out for sure. Teeg can probably come out here. Mums are still relevant, which is nice. I don't think we need the Batterskull. The sword is interesting because it can potentially kill things, but is a little meh. Ramanap Lock is pretty real. Knight of Autumn for Sylvan Library is pretty huge. Questing Beast is probably not where I want to be here, although interesting. Sylvan Library obviously pretty fantastic because they aren't dealing normal damage to us. Nice, Gav. Thank you. Interesting. The mana accelerants are really nice as well. Maybe it's just trimming. Yeah, the only reason that I like Stoneforge is that it does search for Jide, which is pretty huge in this matchup. I'm going to assume my opponent has some pretty good answers to it post-board, but it's a way for us to really try to keep their creatures off the board. Yeah, I think Judgment might just be too slow. At least Skyclave is kind of in that slot anyway. I think Mums are pretty good against Glistener Elf, and to some extent they give Avon and Scrib Ranger protection. I guess they don't give protection to Inkmoth because it's colorless. It could just be the mums. Which, obviously good against Blighted, but that's about it. Thanks, Alum. Yeah, that's true. Maybe it's just like one mum. I don't mind this. Always nice to know that we have a mother in the deck. I think it's just going to be this. This is a sweet hand. Because we have a turn 2. It is a 1-lander, but I'm pretty happy to keep it. A lot of interaction, which is nice. Just turn 1 Dry Dubber. Probably turn 2 Thalia. I guess we'll see what our opponent does turn 1. Probably want to keep the sword for a Blighted Agent. Opponent went down to 6 as well. There's Elf. Wasteland. Wasteland's pretty nice. We can Wasteland and Thalia. I could also keep the Wasteland for something like Glistener Elf, or Blighted Agent. Sorry, Inkmoth Nexus. I could potentially play around Daze by playing the Wasteland first, but that gives my opponent the information that if they do have like a 1-lander, then they can Daze this to save it. I think I'm pretty happy here to actually take them off the trop and then cast the Thalia. Just to not even give them the option. Nice. Getting that down is pretty huge. Means they can't really attack unless they have like Pendelhaven. Nice. I think here it's just Canonist past. Could also attack with the Thalia and see what they do. That could make my opponent think we have a second Thalia to play and we don't matter if we lose this one. But I think Thalia is doing enough to keep them at bay due to first strike that I'm happy just to play the Canonist and pass. I'm actually pretty happy to attack here. I think with only 1 land in play, or 2 next turn at most, there's not too much they can do to get there. And if they do want to block and then invigorate, we do have Swords to Plowshares anyway, so... Interesting times. I could also play around Daze by playing Birds here. But, to be fair, I don't really care about Daze. That just puts my opponent back further. Especially with Thalia out. They're going to force it. Okay. Pitching Ponder. Alright, get in for 1. Inkmoth. Blighted Agent, okay. Well, that's pretty interesting. This is free. So we get to go Script Ranger. Untap this, return this. Play this. I kind of just want to play around any sort of counter magic. And Swords one of these creatures here. But... Swords now gives them all the information in the world. We can play around Daze next turn because we can untap the Dry Double with Script Ranger. I think I'm pretty happy just to play it a little bit greedy and pass here with Swords up. So they have 2 cards in hand. No blocks. No pumps. Alright. Swords now. Plays around Force of Negation, I guess, which is kind of nice. Verdant. That's pretty sweet. Now I get to untap Dried Up or return Savannah and play Bird. Cool, this Snarelf is fine. Land. No animate. Okay. Cradle? Land. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana, so we can Green Suns for 3. So we can either get Ramanap or Knight. I think Knight's just best here because it is a bigger creature as well. I do want to fetch as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Untap this, return this. 5. I guess Knight also gives me a blocker for the Glistener Elf, so I do like getting the Knight here over the Ramanap. Just a little bit bigger. Which means I can probably attack here with the Thalia. The one card that I'd hate to see is probably crop into Pendelhaven. Could also attack with the Scrib Ranger, which is pretty free, but same sort of assessment. I think I'm happy just to take the turn. Not allow them to trade with anything. Yeah, we couldn't waste this turn either with the thing, so... I think getting Knight and getting Ramanap are exactly the same thing, but the upside is that Knight's a 5/5, which is huge against the Glistener Elf, and the Ramanap isn't that big. And most of the time we're just going to be doing it on their end step anyway, so we'll always have the Knight open, which is cool. It's also just a faster way to victory with a bigger Knight, which is kind of nice. It'll probably get to a situation soon where they have to start blocking the Knight, so... Alright. Game 3. Hey Mum Spaghetti. Sorry, Mum SpaghettiOs. Thanks for the follow. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what you play in Legacy. This is a really nice hand. 2 pieces of interaction. We have mana acceleration. We have Stoneforge for Jide, so gonna keep this. Ponder, okay. That's fantastic. Really don't want to see a turn 1 Infect creature like Glistener Elf. That would be pretty brutal. They chose not to shuffle, okay, so they're not looking for anything in particular. I am going to go for a Savannah here over a Forest, because it means that next turn, if we draw into Mother of Runes, we can cast that and Stoneforge in the same turn, or Stoneforge hold up Sword, but Forest into Dried Up, it doesn't allow us to do that, so... Green Suns for Dryad seems pretty good. This also effectively allows us to play on curve for the rest of the game, but also play around days, which is nice. Or Skyclave, yeah, Skyclave's a big one. Windswept Heath. So now's pretty interesting. I can either hold up swords around days or play Stoneforge and hold up swords but no days. I don't mind Stoneforge to get something going, because then next turn we can even just try to get Stoneforge online with Jide. This getting forced would be actually quite nice, because it's one less removal spell that can be countered, which is cool. They could have also done Heads Up Play and Dazed it to make us tap out, but they didn't, which is interesting. Put Jide on stack to duress Force of Will. Nice. My opponent could also do something like Vines of Vastwood, my own creature that I try to equip the Jide with, which gives it hexproof from stuff that I control, so it actually kind of fizzles the equip, which is cool. I'm just gonna let this slide. Hopefully they don't just have like Invigorate Berserk with counter backup. Yeah, so here I'm pretty happy to see if we can take this out. If they want to waste a protection spell, that's fine. If they want to waste a counter spell, that's fine. They're going to daze that. That's okay. Knight. Knight is also pretty interesting because it turns on Wasteland next turn, which I definitely don't mind. Yeah, these are the Masters Edition online, which I assume are beta in real person. In real life. So this is pretty huge. I think here the better play is to go for Knight, just to make sure I have an answer for Inkmoth. Yeah, so Vines of Vastwood on my creatures if I try to equip Jide to them, because Jide is equipped to target creature. And it says target creatures can't be the targets of spells or abilities your opponents control this turn. So it just kind of gives it Shroud. I don't think it's attack with Jit. It could definitely be. My opponent knows about it. It's not the wording of Hexproof. So Hexproof, for me, I can do things too, but Shroud I can't. So something like Thraben the Last Troll, I can equip to, even though it has Hexproof, because Hexproof is just your opponent's spells and abilities. Huh. This is actually a pretty interesting one. So I guess next turn, worst case, my opponent has land, activate Inkmoth, invigorate for free, and the last land to Berserk. Or even something like scale up into that. Yeah, I think Jide just has the higher upside, but it's a tough one. Yeah. I think what I'll do is Plains first. Go for Jit. Play around Submerge. I can't play around Submerge, unfortunately, because it can be any creature I control. It's not just a green creature. Yeah. I guess, how much mana do we have? 1, 2, 3. We've already played a land. Yeah, unfortunately I can't even go for like Scrib Ranger, Untapped Dryad, Land, Knight. Because Green Suns for Scrib Ranger is 3 mana. Yeah, I think it's going to be Knight here. I just feel like my opponent has some sort of answer for Jit. Hey Nathan, welcome. Hope you're well. Hope you're having a nice weekend. Submerge is interesting, especially if they do play it. I assume it's in the 75. It is a really nice card right now. A lot of green mid-range decks around. And if my opponent has it, they have it. There's not too much I can do there. They're gonna fetch here. I guess they knew the card. They didn't know the card. I mean, surely they have another land. Opponent thinking hard now. I think Wasteland's actually my best draw, because if they tap out, then we can use the 4 mana in play to put in Jide safely with Stoneforge. Pendle. Okay, Pendle's also pretty good, especially against Wasteland. They're just going to pass with mana up. That's interesting. Noble. I don't mind starting with Wasteland, because if my opponent has a way to stop Wasteland, then we can Green Suns for Ramanap to get back Wasteland. Scrib's also interesting, but doesn't stop Trample, which is what I'm really scared of. Yeah, this was really interesting. I think the play is fetch first. Wasteland this. They could have crop, but then we just have Green Suns. They're going to animate this. Okay. This isn't too bad, because at least it's yeah, pulling this out right now. Ah, interesting. I don't really have the luxury of playing around days. I think just ramming up again is the best play. Ah, Scrib's also interesting. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that does play around it. That's actually pretty nice. 1, 2, 3. They can't double days, which is nice. I guess they could Spell Pierce? They could Spell Pierce, so let's play the land first. That's a nice play, HC Fox. I like that. How do I want to attack here? Doesn't really matter, because I'm untapping the knight. I guess we could also hold up Script Ranger here, so maybe there actually just isn't an attack. This, remove... Savannah. This makes me think they have like Submerge, or maybe even Vines. But then we can just do this in upkeep anyway, so Vines isn't the worst. Yeah, Scribber is really sweet here. It does the same thing that Ramanap kind of does, but it played around days, which is awesome. It gives us a flyer for the Inkmoth as well, so now we can even block and see how they do things. Even if they use the Pendlehaven, that's huge, because it takes them off that mana for the turn. They're going to Vines. That's really interesting. That's fine. Because now in upkeep, we just get to do it again. My question is there any reason to do it now and not do it, you know, once they're attacking? Yeah, just Stifle. I'm going to assume they're not playing Stifle. We haven't seen it yet. Another Inkmoth. Okay. Okay. Untap this, return the Dryad Arbor. Kind of want to keep that in play. Let it hit? That's interesting. Yeah, okay. I don't mind, yeah, seeing what they have. Because if they had like Vine's Kick, that would be pretty broken. I'm not gonna block here. The script's just too good for us right now. Okay. Alright. Untap this, return. I guess we have to fetch first. Savannah. Float 1. Untap this. Return this. Sack planes. Get a wasteland. What do we have? We have another Savannah. Yeah, I don't mind just putting in Stoneforge either. Ah, interesting. Yeah, I could have done that. I could have got Wasteland, but then just used Wasteland to put in the Jide. Yeah. Yeah, I think it will just be... They're down to 4 cards, though. 1, 2, 3, 4... Yeah, I'm just untapping here. And now I'm happy to go... Stoneforge. I guess I could have played this a little bit differently and actually gone after their mana first and then played the Jide. Hey Xiao, welcome. A lot of different lines here, and this is probably not the greatest one, but I'm on it. So now we can play Savannah. Untap this. Return this. Equip to Scrib. Hopefully this is good enough. And now we also have Dried Arbor to sack to the Knight, which is nice. They're going to Berserk it. Okay, so they're going to kill it at the end of turn. That's fine. I'm more than happy to take the Berserk out of the hand, because I feel like Berserk would have killed us otherwise. I'm happy to trade the Berserk for the Scrib Ranger and also get 2 triggers. I can't return it, so I'm just going to pass here. They could definitely have multiple Berserks, but that's fine. There's some thought to taking out the Pendelhaven there. White. Interesting. Okay. Well, now I just want to turn Dryad Arbor into a wasteland. Alright, they have 2 cards left. Pretty happy just to take the 2 here. Yeah. That's fine. Now I'm happy just to untap. Land is fine. Opponent has 2 cards in hand. We can equip here. Animate here. Pretty happy to just wasteland this in response. But if they're gonna block and then like pump with like Invigorate, I don't think we mind. I'm happy to lose the Stoneforge to the Ink Moth. This is fine. I'm happy to just take them off their creature now. And then just use the Jade to keep everything else off the table. Canonus is really nice. Probably happy to brainstorm first. We've got Dried Armor in the bin, so let's go land, Canonist. Okay, so we're gonna like brainstorm into something. K-Grip's pretty good here, but I still have a clock, which is really nice. I'm gonna force that pitching Flusterstorm, that's okay. Pretty happy to try to make this like a 2-turn clock. Could potentially just make it, actually, yeah. 8. Oh, they're at 10? Might as well just see if they have it or not. Like, you got 1 card left. Nice. Very cool. Yeah, so definitely, I haven't played against Infect in a little while, so definitely a few rusty players there, but chat obviously has some pretty cool lines as well. I'm sure with sequencing as well, that's a pretty huge part of making sure you can stay on top of Infect, but a little bit lucky. Alright, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom real quick. I'll be back in a second. Whew. Nice. Alright, let's do this. Putting in some cool decks today. Show and Tell, Dredge, Infect, Hogaak. 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 Show and Tell, Dredge. Infect. Hogaak. What's the difference between Dredge and Gack? I would say Gack has a better on-board plan against any sort of graveyard decks. You can still play a lot of your threats and just go wide with 2/1s and maybe even a 4/3. Dredge does have the backup plan of winning through Altar of Dementia, I think it's called, with Bridge from Belows, because you can just start making zombies by sacking Hogaak each time. I believe you need 2 bridges in the bin for it to go off. Hey, Daddy 2foot, thanks for the Prime sub. A huge thank you, that means a lot. I hope you're well. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what you play in Legacy. You can easily kill with 1 bridge. Cool. Hey, Matsol. Alright. I'll begin Guts. Hi. Hope you're well. Yeah, I guess today, looking back at things, I probably would have rathered have Leyline than Surgical, especially against Hogaak and Dredge, but this is probably a mulligan. I'm not too sure what my opponent is on. I am going to mulligan this. Unless I really knew what we're up against. I mean, if we're up against Death and Taxes, I'd be pretty happy to keep this. Even as a non-fast hand, but... this is better. I'll keep it and bottom the Dryad Arbor. And just keep the 1 lander, because we have two creatures, which is nice. So keep this bottom Dryad Arbor. Bloodstained Maya. Ooh, this is gonna be like Reanimator. Definitely feels like Reanimator. Jund Hogaak? Oh, I'd love to see Jund Hogaak. That'd be very cool. You're from Idaho in the US. You don't play Legacy anymore, but Legacy Maverick was my favorite deck. I even played... So I'm loving the content. Very cool, Daddy. That's awesome to hear. What's, oh, double bridge. Okay. That's pretty good. Alright. Why do you only run 1 copy of Dryad Arbor? Usually because 1 is all you need. It can be a little bit rough in multiples. You obviously don't really want to see it, you just want to be able to grab it when you really need it. Please don't flip Cabal Therapy. Please don't flip Cabal Therapy. Okay. Another Stitches. Okay. 3 bridges now. Okay. Can we get out of this? Wasteland? Forest. Okay. What's the best play? Green Suns for Ooze is pretty good. Knight's also strong. I think it is just Green Suns for Ooze and hopefully get another turn. I can sack Dryad if I do that, which is pretty good. That takes care of 3 bridges. I think if I want to win this game, it's probably getting Ooze on the field. We're definitely playing this land. I think it is just, yeah, getting Ooze on the field. I guess it it depends, because, okay, here's the current graveyard. The 3 cards that I really want to get rid of are the 3 bridges, which I could next turn eat with Ooze, but then I'm not eating anything else. I could also get Knight, which allows me to Green Suns for Dried Arbor and then sack it. Bog is not main, no. I guess the nice thing is that Green Suns only represents Ooze, so even if they do Cabal Therapy me, they're not taking the Ooze out of the deck, they're just taking my current way to get there. I guess Knight next turn also just turns on Green Suns for Ooze and then play, like, Cradle. Tough one. Script to block the 1/1. I think it is just going to be Knight. I think Knight's just a little better. Tough either way. I mean, Skoos is looking really good, but seeing that the bridges are what I want to go after here, I think that trying to fade this one turn and get those bridges out of here would be fantastic. 2 mana. Altar. Oh god, is that just a win? I don't think any player could have played around that, unfortunately. Yikes. Yeah, that's so many bridges. Rough. Carrion Feeder. Might as well see some more of the deck. They do need to hit a Gack. Which is pretty close, to be fair. Ooh, Anger? Okay, well there's Gack. I guess we might as well see what else is in the deck. This is Spice. I've never seen this before, which is cool. Hey FB, this is a little bit different to the list that I played on a few days ago on YouTube, but pretty close to it. Just a few little changes, like Even Mind Sense is pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, this would have been a pretty nice one for ley lines. Skyclaves, probably just how we boarded last time. Collector Oof. Swords is interesting. Swords can go. Mind Sensors can go. Teeg can go. Most likely Thalia's. It's a pretty quick one. Judgment's interesting as well. It's just another removal spell. I don't mind this. So much thinking we're dead anyways. Yeah, that's the fair life sometimes. I think this is pretty good. Yeah, Canonist is actually really nice. Scripts, Library can come out. I still like the mums. Beast is still good. Yeah, I think it might just be another Reliquary. It is okay, but they have so many chump blockers that I think this is pretty good. It's also nice to bring in 2 3-drops and take out some amount of 3-drops. At least the Avens. Yeah, Ben, that's true. Although I think Savannah into Hierarch into Knight is a pretty big giveaway for Mav, but maybe not. Maybe not. How's Hogaak against D&T? That's a good question. Double Surgical. Okay. I'm just going to Green Suns for Dried Arbor here. I could also hold up Swords, but I like building out because if I do draw into a 3-mana spell, I want to cast it next turn. Yeah, I could be on some sort of natural order deck. I think the Surgicals are probably going after Bridges first. And then if I had a second choice, it would probably be Vengevines, but this hand is pretty good against Vengevine. It'd probably just be another value creature like Bloodghast or Gravecrawler. Or Therapy, yeah, that's very true. I'm also just going to 6 here because I don't think there's anything that I want to Surgical anyway on turn 1 against them. We did see Vengevines last game. We saw them in the bin. Carrion Feeder. It's pretty good. Crypt. Okay. Huh. I do like Wasteland. It's not really doing much for us, especially when we need double white. But if we draw like another 3-drop like Knight, I kind of want it. But I think here I'm pretty happy just to hit their Badlands and try to keep them down to 1 spell a turn. Yeah, the issue with this hand is that it's quite reactive. It doesn't really have much pressure, which is what you really want against this deck. Because they do have ways out of cards like Surgical, especially with Cabal Therapy. There was definitely a thought that this hand was a little bit too reactive and I should mulligan for something with a bit more oomph to it. Because it is quite... Surgical and Badlands, interesting. Ah, and that's why I didn't want to waste, but you can't always know what's coming. Well, might as well target them. Cycle Canopy to find a land, I like it. I didn't look at that mana base, no. Probably should have if I took this a little bit more seriously. Fetch, float a mana. Bloodghast, okay. Pretty happy to take them off the Carrion Feeder right here. Because if I draw a land next turn, I want to tap out, and this just allows me to play a little bit better on curve. Yeah. Interesting. Gravecrawler is pretty good. Really need a land here. Windswept Heath. That's pretty interesting, because now I have the option of actually attacking with the Jedi equipped. This can't block. Killing these two, and then surgicaling Bloodghast and Gravecrawler. Or just playing the Knight. I don't mind playing the Knight. We're definitely playing this and fetching and getting a Savannah. I think I'm happy to take one turn off and just hold up. This does also take them off Gak, which is interesting. Yeah, I do like getting down the Knight and then maybe going after their mana as well. Knight is also awful versus Therapy. Yeah, a lot of things to consider. They've already used one Force, so I assume their last two cards aren't Force. I like getting in here. Yeah, a few different lines here. Probably don't want to kill anything yet. If I do, I probably want to do it in Draw Step and Surgical, in case they draw into one of these creatures. Matsol, you said equip, but don't Surgical Gravecrawler yet. Are you thinking along my lines of waiting for their Draw Step to kill these and then Surgical? No? Oh, this isn't a zombie. Gotcha. Well, I don't mind getting rid of, yeah, Gravecrawler here. Actually, I'm going to get rid of Bloodghast. They're going to Abrupt Decay, most likely. Okay. Well, now I can just get rid of Gravecrawler, just to get it off the field. And then we can see the hand. So this dies, that dies. Now we take the Bloodghast out. Bridge and Vengevine, okay. Let's look at their deck. One Decay left, one Force. Badlands, two Bayous. Okay. Two Swamps. Nice. Knight. Lands are still Bridge and Vengevine in play, or in hand. Another Knight, that's pretty good. So am I just holding up Knights here? And then we're pretty close to lethal next turn. They can play Vengevine. We can end step Wasteland them. Untap. Maybe I just want to actually go for a fetch land here. I could Swords, but I kind of like Apparition here. Charm's cool. Oh, we're lagging. There we go. Okay. Game 3. Do I want to make any changes? I don't believe so. They brought in decays, which is interesting. Makes a lot of sense, of course. I think I just want to run this back, to be fair. I don't think there's anything that I want to change up. Yeah, maybe it is. There we go. Thanks, Matt. I was always on the fence about Questing Beast. It is nice as like an end game curve because a lot of their creatures can't block anyway, but if they can't block anyway, then Knight is probably just better, and the utility is relevant, especially finding something like Dried Arbor to sack or to, you know, Wasteland to get rid of bridges. It also just makes that curve a little bit smaller, which is nice. So hopefully this all goes well. Matt Sol, what are you playing at the moment? I know you're a big green mage, so I assume you're having pretty good fun in the new one, in the new meta. Yeah, Knight's been really nice. I guess we haven't really seen Mother of Runes that much. We saw it a little bit against Infect, but other than that, tough. It's the worst card in the deck. I like it. I like it. $60-15. Opponent having a think about their sideboarding. Oof. You wish they banned Veil? Hey Nathan, what's blue-white Omni like in the new metagame? I assume it only gets better because a lot of fair decks have kind of come back, which blue-white usually preys on. I know Maverick has a pretty tough time, to say the least. Yeah, it seems a little bit more grindy than blue-red, which is kind of cool. Just making sure there isn't something here. Sideboard 15, main deck 60. We've clicked submit. Surely it's not us. I guess if anything, if nothing changes anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's just the beast and the knight that switched. Whew. Beat 4 stifles? Interesting. Just gonna make sure my internet speed isn't bad. Not the greatest. I'm wondering if this is if I should be restarting. Not sure what's happening here. Probably best to just restart. Oh. Nice. Yeah, I know there's been a few issues with Moto recently. A lot of players saying That this end is pretty sweet. I'll keep this. That there's been a bit of lag with MTGO recently, and you can see it here. So hopefully it doesn't affect us. But all right, we're in. Thoughtseize. It's pretty good. Probably taking the Ooze. I could see them either taking the Surgical or the Ooze. Swords and Path kind of do the same thing here, so... If they take the Ooze, we have no threats whatsoever, which is pretty tough. Yeah, lags have definitely been consistent. Yeah, not cool. Okay. Savannah. Okay, that's interesting. I kind of like keeping the Windswept Heath for Dried Arbor as long as possible, so I don't mind just playing Savannah and passing. Hey Dizzy. I've played Allurin in paper before. I've never played it online because of the MTGO client, and comboing with decks like Allurin and Food Chain can be a bit tedious. But it's a sweet deck. You have all the pieces in the post? Very cool. There is a player... I will remember their name. Cabal. Okay. Surgical's pretty good. Oh, okay. This is actually fun. I can respond to the trigger here by swordsing it, which I think I'll just do here. So they can't actually Cabal Therapy it. Nice. Assassin's Trophy, Altar Vote, and Catacombs. That is fine. Birds. Okay. Let's play that. And then hold up Dried Arbor and Path. Gravecrawler. You got it. Another Gravecrawler. Okay. At least if they sack one here, we can just path the other one. You're from Sydney? I know that Sydney has a good legacy scene. I believe they play in a pub. That could be old news, especially with COVID, but very cool to see you're from Sydney. What, have you played paper in there before? in Sydney? There we go. Might as well just get Savannah into Path. Hey Star Fox, thanks for the follow. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what you play in Legacy. They've taken Ooze, which is tough. Probably just want a Knight off the top. There's currently no bridges, so I don't think I need the Arbor, and at least they knew about the path anyway, so it's good to use it. And the two swamps are currently in play, so they actually don't get a basic off that, which is kind of nice. Oh, you play the pub events quarterly? Very cool. Knight. Swords. Bloodghast is fine. Don't want to use the sword just yet. Wasteland. Happy to take the 2 here. Really want to save the sword for something a little bit bigger. Or at least buy some time with like a knight. Rough. They know about the cradle, so I'll play the cradle. And pass. I could double wasteland them off the Bloodstain Mire because they have to get a dual land, but I think I'm happy just to play it a little bit safer. Still going to take the 2 here. Green Suns. Nice. Okay. I think I'm just getting another Reliquary here because the Scavenging Ooze is gone. Nothing else that great. I swear I can view deck somehow. I think it is just Knight, yeah. Land. Oh, actually, if they do have Abrupt Decay, I think going for Wasteland on Bloodstain Mire first is fine, because they haven't played a land in a while. I don't want to play this Green Suns into an open Abrupt Decay. Ramanap's also interesting because I could get back Windswept Heath for Dryad Arbor. Questing Beast is in... Oh, it's not in the board. Oh, it's not in the board. Interesting. It must have timed out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nice. They didn't even use the fetch land. That's really interesting. Beast can't be Abrupt Decayed as well, which is pretty huge. Yeah, Moto actually helping us, which is pretty funny. But they do have an Assassin's Trophy in the bin, so I assume they still have one other Assassin's Trophy. Oh, another Green Suns. Alright. Probably happy just to attack first and see what they do with this Marsh Flats, if anything. Nice. 2, 3, 4. Let's Green Suns for a Knight of the Reliquary. I think I'm happy just to pass here. If I waste again, it doesn't do a whole lot because they can just fetch and then I can't waste that other land. But... another Bloodghast, okay. We have lethal on board. I think we just won. Because we can wasteland ourselves, the Knights are 6/6. Oh, Hogaak? That's fine, we have Caracas. I could just Swords it as well, puts them up to 18, that we swing back for lethal pretty much. I think I'll take the draw in case we draw naturally into Caracas. Noble. Does that change anything? I kind of just want to swords this and then attack for 8. I don't want to Caracas it because I can just recast it. I guess I get in for 4, which is kind of nice. Interesting. Yeah, no, let's Caracas. We can attack for 5 as well. Let's get Caracas. Return this. Nice. Very cool. Ba, ba, ba. Nice. Very sweet. Very cool to get the 5-0. Nice. Nice, 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 nice. Here it is. Very cool. Swords to Plowshares because of Altar. Yeah, that's interesting as well. Altar would have been pretty good. Nice. Very cool. I think I would play Leyline knowing that league instead of the Surgicals and the Tomwat's Crypt, but very cool to get another 5-0. That's feels really good, especially with a different deck, which is kind of cool. The mums were interesting. It was nice to have mum, but I kind of missed just having Once Upon a Time instead. There weren't too many matches where I had to like protect a Gaddock Teeg or something in particular. And because we're playing Skyclave as well, Once only gets better because it can find those as well, which is cool. Aven was pretty sweet. We got to play it against Green-Black Blue-Red Sneak and hit a fetch land. I would say it's definitely a flex slot. Like you could run like Big Thalia is pretty cool as well, or something else. Hey Timmy C. Yeah, thankfully got there. I have seen some players playing 2 Ooze, which I think is actually pretty good right now with the amount of like mid-range going around. Teeg main deck was nice, but not really needed. If anything, it was Collector Oof that would have been better, but obviously that has some implications with Stoneforge Mystic, but at the same time, Gaddock Teeg does have implications with Green Sun Zenith. So, don't get mad, chat, get Aven. Yeah, really nice league. A good bunch of different decks as well. So it was BUG Hogaak, Jund Hogaak, Dredge, Infect, Blue-Red OmniSneak. Hex is a card that I do want to play main deck. There's not too many times I want to board it in. I'd rather just have it in the main deck. I think it's definitely worth making room for Leyline, seeing what we played against tonight. Any advice on the Doomsday matchup? Unfortunately, my advice for the Doomsday matchup is do nothing. It's tough because usually with a fair amount of the combo decks, a lot of the hate for them line up, like Canonist or Teeg or Thalia, but I think, you know, it's just one of those kind of like 90-10 matchups you just have to take on the chin and, yeah, hopefully avoid it. I don't want to, you know, try to skewer my sideboard towards Doomsday. Unless you play something like Hushbringer, which has some good play against decks like Death and Taxes or Espervile, or Elves, or sometimes Goblins. Yeah, Thoughtseize is pretty good. Thoughtseize and Surgical, if you must. But yeah, Doomsday is just a really, really tough one that is pretty tough to get. That's me. That is me. I'm going to take the 5-0 and leave. If you want to check out the newest piece on the Green Sun Zenith, you can find it here. I'm currently putting together the Maverick Monthly, which looks over the last month's 5-0s and how they all went and how each sort of archetype is looking, which is cool. You can also find me on YouTube. It's where all my recordings go and also my YouTube exclusive content. I do have a donation deck list with NickFit going on there, which is cool. And then I'll also do a stream with it. I have a co-host in chat, I believe still, Jack. We're playing some Delver next Tuesday night, I believe. And then, yeah, some other stuff. If you're on Twitter, you can find me here. I'm going to see who else is playing. Was a full equipment package good with only 2 Stoneforge Mystic? I really like it. I like that Cradle is just another way to cast an early Batterskull. If you're playing a different version, I've seen a lot of people play 3 and 3, so 3 Stoneforge and then the 3 equipment. But 2 felt pretty nice. It also makes room for just one more Green Suns target, which is nice because once you add 1 in, you have, you know, virtually 5 copies, which is cool. But yeah, let's see who else is playing around. I think the Legacy Pit is... Yeah, the Legacy Pit's on. Nice. Yeah, so the one bird over the 4th Noble's nice because it is a flyer. In a mum deck, it can get you there, which is nice. And there's also some really small things, like with Scribranger and Bird, you can actually send back a Chain Lightning at your opponent, which has come up, which is cool. We did miss it, but Jack did see it in chat. But yeah, very cool. Very, I just like it because it does give you a flyer as well, which, you know, sometimes can be the difference between a win and a loss against like a Marit Lage, or even just, you know, saving 3 life against the Delver to get that extra turn. It can be pretty good. And then thankfully with Sword and Exalted, it can attack, which is cool. Alright, let's raid over at the Legacy Pit. Nice. A huge thank you once again to the new subs, the new followers. I will see you all in a few days. Enjoy your weekends. And yeah, keep fighting the fair fight. We'll see you next time. Nice.